Hello everyone, it's Andrea Salmon here, your facilitator for today. We'll start with our acknowledgement that we do for all our programs. So we acknowledge and pay respect to the traditional custodians, past, present and emerging, on whose lands we meet today. And we acknowledge the deep feelings of attachment and the relationship of Aboriginal people to country. And we respect the cultural authority of the elders in each community. Today's program will be slightly different to our usual webinars. Soon I'll be turning off the slides and you'll just be seeing Joseph and what he's going to demonstrate for us today. It's our real great pleasure today to have Joseph Vargetto with us. Joseph is an acclaimed and much loved chef and restaurateur in Melbourne, and he's the owner and chef at Mister Bianco and Massey, both restaurants in Melbourne. Joe plays to his strengths as one of Australia's premier exponents of modern Italian cuisine, while honouring traditional techniques used in his Sicilian heritage. As a child of first-generation Italian migrants, food was integral to Joe's early life, and Joe's parents expected him to become a lawyer, an accountant, or a stockbroker, but cooking was in his blood. 2 years into a commerce degree, a friend mentioned an opportunity at Florentino and Joe jumped at the chance. After further training in Italy under Gualterio Marchesi, there's my Italian, lack of Italian, Joe worked as the sous chef for Philippe Michel at Langdon's before heading out on his own to open Oyster Little Burke. Joe's first book, Siciliano, is a beautiful collection of recipes that are a modern interpretation of authentic Sicilian cuisine, each with their own story. The book takes fine dining, restaurant dishes and makes them easy for everyone to try in their own homes. And that book was released just in September this year. It's also important to mention that Joe is also living with multiple sclerosis, so he understands the balance of fatigue, the impact of heat, and how to manage to eat well. So today, Joe's going to be showing us hand-rolled cavatelli, eggplant, cherry, tomato, and basil, grilled fennel, crushed peas and pumpkin seeds, and strawberries and strawberry granita, with very much an emphasis on what's available now in season and what you can easily access. I'll also say today's session is not around diet and MS. It is a cooking demonstration. So please don't feel that we're going to be covering off what makes for a good diet for people with MS or the impact of diet. This is purely showing some easy to prepare recipes. If you're interested in the impact of diet, then I would suggest you go to our website, ms.org.au, have a look in the Eat Well, Live Well section, and that's where you can find some commentary around different diets and supplements that might be helpful.
Okay, so welcome to our class. There's been a few little glitches and so on, but I think that's part of 2020 this year. That has been a little bit strange, I think, for all of us, having lockdowns and you name it. But what I'm going to do today, and obviously with the help of Andrea and also the help of Val, which is we're going to talk things through. But again, Andrea, if there's any questions throughout, or if there's anything you want to ask me, maybe for the for the audience, please let me know.
I will. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So when Andrea asked me to do a class today, I said with open arms, I would love to do something like that. Obviously, I have multiple sclerosis, and I'm not doing a class without the relevant understanding of how things are applied and how things go. One thing I did say to Andrea is that I found out that I got multiple sclerosis by accident. So I was riding my bike a long trip to Portsea here from Kew to Portsea, and I got hit by a car. I was put under obviously MRIs, and they saw some shadowings, and they saw some little lesions, but they thought because of the trauma or the impact of the car me hitting the car, something strange was going on. But that wasn't the case. A lot of my doctors and specialists then kind of went into a little bit more. After about 6 months, I was determined and diagnosed as multiple sclerosis. I kind of was in denial. I didn't think that, but one thing now, going through this journey now, it's been about 6 years that I've had it, and one thing that I have understood is that stress doesn't play really a good part on our journey. Heat, not really much, because even during summer and so on, as much as I love the sun and the bike, my hand and my leg does flare up, top of my lip. It's all a bit strange. Lose my balance. But one thing that we can, and the only thing I think that we can be in control of, is our diet. And this hopefully helps a little in your management of food, diets, and sometimes we eat things that may be okay today, but a prolonged consumption of these foods doesn't help. Now, the other thing as well is that I come from a Sicilian background, and my mother never really bought anything from the shop. She bought everything as a raw ingredient, whether it be fennel, eggs, all the different vegetables, and we produced everything in-house. I know that me being in the same boat, there is a lot of time constraints. Our daily routines have been shot in the sense of we don't have very much time to do things, sometimes the necessary things, the real life things like cooking really delicious food. And cooking really delicious food doesn't have to be time consuming. And sometimes different pastas, or you may think because they're written in a language that you don't really know, you go, oh my God, it must be really involved. But today what I want to show you is Val. Val's been with me for about 7 years, so I think he understands a lot of this as well. His background is obviously Filipino, and our two backgrounds being from a more peasant background, we basically use a lot of things that are from the earth, from the ground. So today what we're going to do is some beautiful hand-pressed cavatelli. We're going to do some fennel and mashed peas. Yeah. And strawberry granita. So what I want to do from today is basically show you how to make pasta at home, and something that doesn't have to take a very, very long time. So I'm going to do a lot of the talking, and Fel next to me is going to do I'll do the rolling, and Fel's going to do the mixture, and then we'll go on to the next recipe. And then please note all this down, the recipes and so on, because I do sometimes talk very, very quickly. But the recipe, again, doesn't have to be difficult. And funnily enough, last week I launched my book, and just a quick plug. I did launch a book last week. It's all black, so that's why you can't see it. And all the recipes are in this. So it's just literally over 6 days old, being the launch of my book. So all the recipes in there, and it's going to be sold in every major bookshop in Australia. Or you can go online and you can buy it online to order. So firstly, we're going to do a very simple dish, which is cavatelli. And cavatelli is a pasta, a Sicilian style pasta, which is literally everything is done by hand. It has a simple flour of semolina. It has, are we doing this?
No, it's water and semolina.
So there's a few recipes. In today's recipe, we're going to do just the semolina, which is the flour, and water. There are other recipes, and there are with just a minimal amount of eggs. There are recipes with almond milk. There are other recipes with just egg whites. But today's one, we're going to do just a very, very simple. So semolina is not as processed flour. It has the obviously everything that makes up flour, but it's not processed to the point where it's a fine grade flour. It's quite I don't know if you can see that. It's quite a rough rough
Deciding
dough.
the hard one is.
So Val's going to show you how to put all this together. So we're trying to navigate the camera. I'm just going to pop around for a second just so you can kind of see a little bit more.
There you go. There it is.
Okay.
So just gonna put in a bowl, make a little well in the center, and add. So this is 300 grams of semolina and 150 grams of warm water. The warm water just helps you to rehydrate the semolina a lot faster than cold. And you basically, from here, it's like playing with clay. Just trying to work around it until it's kind of this consistency. And what we're trying to do is we're bringing it together. So just squeeze it, play with it. This is the fun bit, you know, if you have kids, it's always fun with kids as well. It's amazing how 2 ingredients will turn into a beautiful pasta dish in a second. So when you get to this point, these all the work is going to happen. You're going to need to knead it for the next 5 minutes. Second, just move this across. So you get to this point. It's one big dough now. Now we have to work the flour. We're trying to work the gluten now so it becomes pliable and workable. This is where you're going to get your muscles, I guess. This takes about good 2 to 5 minutes, depending on what you're doing. So what I'm trying to do is fold, press, and then turn. So fold, press, turn.
And is there a gluten-free option or substitute for semolina?
There are some gluten-free recipes out there. There's a couple of other gluten-free flours that's pre-mixed already that I use personally. It's called organ. That one is really good with Cavatelli, this Cavatelli dough. I can't remember if you have the label somewhere, because different gluten-free flour has different mixture of ingredients in it, and organ is the one with the best, I think, mixture that you can use for pastas. It gives you good bite without feeling guilty about eating gluten.
And could you use a mix master to do the kneading?
Yes, definitely. It will be faster.
And less energy. And can I confirm 300 grams of semolina and 150 grams of warm water?
Correct. So I've been eating this for what, a minute or 2 minutes now. I don't know if you can see the difference. It's getting a bit smoother, right?
Right.
We're just gonna knead it, but magic of television, we have one that we kneaded beforehand and rested. So this one, once it's this consistency, so this one has been kneaded for good 5 minutes, and this one's only been kneaded for 2 minutes. I don't know if you can see the difference.
Not
Then
really.
once you get to, it's a bit shinier, smoother, I guess. And this one's a bit rough still.
Yep, great.
Yeah. You basically, we rest this, cling film will do. Rest this for a good 20 minutes. Don't put it in the fridge if you can help it. If you leave it outside, room temperature pasta is always the best way to go. And we will start rolling the Cavatelli. Joey? Yeah.
And does this recipe can be used for other pastas other than Cavatelli?
Yes, correct. Yes, you can use this dough for anything else that you want to use it for. I generally would use this recipe for a shorter pasta. I'll show you a couple of shapes later on if we have time.
Thank you.
But generally, I use this dough for Cavatelli, and then mostly short pastas that can be rolled by hand.
So what Fella's done here was is something that my mum used to make at home, and the recipe that that Fella's created is just a very simple recipe for. So again, it was only literally
Semolina and water.
semolina and water. So what we're going to do is show you without too many too much equipment and so on. So everyone hopefully has a rolling pin. If not, they can use a stick or something.
Wine bottles.
Or wine bottles. So just roll it to about this point, probably 1/2 centimeter in width. And then what we then do is
We cut it.
we cut it into, and then we can put it into kind of little shapes.
So we cut it this size. Oh, stickers. So you get here. See? Then we can start rolling, I guess. And then we'll show it on the mozzarella board, I think.
So what we have is a couple of different options. So we've got a board that with these patterns, we've got one with a little pattern in the middle, another pattern down the center, and then we've got this board as well. You can, if you don't have that, you don't have to spend any money on things like boards and whatever else. What you can do is literally find something that has on the back of it some sort of pattern. Once I had a large function, and I was showing people how to make it, and I forgot these little boards, but I went outside and looked for a tile, back of a tile or something that has some sort of groove effect, and it really doesn't even have to have a groove effect. I'll bring the camera down to show everyone how to kind of roll these. And if you see over here, there's a pot of water. So what I do is, even before we make the pastas and so on, is I put a pot of water with salt and bring it to a rolling boil, or just on a simmer. So once we finish the pastas, we then go to make. We then put it onto a tray, and so rolling isn't hard. So what you do is you take it from one side, depending if you're right or left-handed. I usually put everything on my right side. I take, and then all you do is place your thumb and so on, and you just roll it down. So it becomes, what happens, you can see the back. So this camera is right or left, left is right, okay? You can see the back, how it becomes kind of folded. And what happens there, that what is where the sauce goes inside, and you have, so each pattern on the outside, each pattern has a different little shape. So I'll put it on a different, put it on a color where you can kind of see it. And then you can use all different color, different parts of the board. It's a very good dough, like so quickly done.
You can even use a fork.
Mm-hmm. And then when you start to become really quickly, again, from right to left. And or you don't even have to put it onto any real board. You can just put it onto your bench, and you go from there. Also, sizes. You can have your long Cavatelli. You can have more of a, let's press this one down, make it kind of thick. You can do a kind of a little Cavatelli, but a little kind of frumpy one if you want. You can then do a long one. You can then do the 2-finger one, or the 3-finger one,
which is called capunti with pea pods.
like that. Or the side of the thumb, just like this. Again, you have it. Or you can use a back of an implement. This is a knife. This is the first thing that's been described handy. You can use just a back of something. So
you're just basically flipping it. You can use any benches as well. You can use the board. Your table is very good for it, but this one will be a lot smoother.
And if you haven't got the text, where else could you get the texture from? People are asking. So you mentioned a tile. What else could provide that texture?
All right, a fork is good. The back of your what do you call this? Your strainer. The back of your strainer is good too. I think you just have to have fun and actually look for things like I mean, you can use a slotted spoon and just roll it around there, and you'd have like a different texture.
Fantastic.
Again, I think it's all about having fun with this pasta. Joe has different stuff here.
So when my parents arrived in 1956 from Sicily, there was literally nothing here that that resembled anything that they could have used for to make pasta. But now at house, let's say house, a reasonable kind of commercial outlet in any kind of supermarkets and things like that, there's this pasta board. They also call it a pasta washboard. So if you see the grooves inside there, and I think they're like $6 or $7, you can buy them in any real, you know what I mean? They're literally at any kind of cooking shop now, you know, pasta rollers or pasta washboards. I like going to antique shops and so on, and I found an old Victorian butter board. They're really good as well, and I kind of, call me strange, but I actually kind of collect little butter boards. You know, the paddles, they used to get the butter and slap them together, and then they put the next one. So that's the actual butter. Yeah, that's actual butter board. I bought it in an antique shop. So again, use the butter board and just roll it like that. There's so many things, like, for example, this is a really good thing. Sometimes at home, I'd make a dough, and instead of, you know, looking at your phones and Netflix and so on, we make a dough and everyone gets aboard, and we just roll out some Cavatelli. We put them onto a tray. It doesn't have to go in the fridge, because flour and water, any area that it's got a kind of ventilated area, you can dry them out. And once they're dried out, you can keep them in the dry store, or you can once they're like this, place them onto a container with some semolina and just put them in the freezer. They actually, little secret, they're actually better in the freezer. What happens, because they're frozen, they break the gluten and so on a little bit more. And actually from frozen, they actually come up better. Now, cooking wise, this pasta is not like an 8-minute, 10-minute, 12-minute. It's about a 20-minute cooking process. So you put your boiling water in, put your pasta in, gentle simmer. So if you, let's move the camera again. You see here, it's on a gentle simmer. Now, Cavatelli. So Val is going to be in the background making as many Cavatelli as possible. And what I'm going to do is make a sauce. So you see that? I put the little chunks on the bottom so it doesn't escape. What I'm going to do is make a very, very, let's say, quick sauce. I'm going to put the boiling water there. Perfect. Wonderful. So Phil and I are going to together here.
Joseph, why doesn't the pasta stick to the board?
Why? Number one,
how do you...
because it's been, Number one, it's because the board's been used so often, but also hydration. And it's not very, very wet, But also we put a little bit of semolina on the board as well. So a little bit of semolina, a little bit of flour, and then you can roll things.
Thank you.
That's all right. Now, quickie, vegetarian eggplant. Here we are. I like taking the tops and bottoms off. Then just one eggplant will probably be enough for 2 or 3 people. Eggplant, what we then do is dice. Now, you can salt them if you like overnight or a couple of hours and then rinse the salt off. But I think now with commercial kind of eggplants that are just grown now, there's no real need to kind of salt them any longer. They don't really have that bitter taste. So I dice into, let's say, 1 centimeter by 1 centimeter dice, and also then cut the black part, or the skin. Don't peel it. I think the skin gives it that, with that black pieces in the sauce as well. And make sure you have your knife is sharp. One thing very important with eggplant, because if your knife isn't sharp, it kind of goes pop, 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 pop. It doesn't really work. So, sharp knife, any type of knife, but make sure it's sharp. Then we have oil. And I have to say thank you to Val. He was up really early today. He set up the whole area. Pretty amazing. Like the whole setup, the demo, and everything like that today was set up by Val. We've got an induction cooker, so we put it on number 7. And what I use this area as well is we actually have a cooking school at Mr. Bianco. So during COVID and the restrictions, we couldn't use it because, you know, obviously the obvious thing. But now next year we'll go back to our cooking class, and that's why it's all set up at the back here. Eggplant in. Can you hear that noise? That's the noise you want. That's right. Now the eggplant is a strange vegetable where if you place it into the pan, what happens is it fries, but then it starts to absorb oil. Now, throughout the cooking process, add a little bit of oil, but not too much, because it's a vegetable. It's a vegetable that will lie to you. And saying that nicely, because what happens right at the start of the cooking process, it'll absorb all the oil, and then once it's cooked, it'll start to spew out the oil that's coming later. So what you want to do is put it on a gentle fry, just a gentle fry, and then from here, season the eggplant slightly, and with cooking as well, try to season, not try, but season everything in the cooking process. Because what happens if you season something right at the end, all you do is you try, it becomes not as salty, but salt is the first thing that you find at the start of your mouth. But if you season your cooking throughout the process, a little bit of salt, a little bit of pepper, a little bit of salt. For example, if you have to salt something or season something at 10, salt at 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, and you get 10. Rather than right at the end, oh shit, I forgot the salt or the seasoning. So you put everything at the end. Sometimes you'll try something that doesn't have the seasoning. Oh, it needs more salt. And you may get caught out. So season as you go. Season as you go. There's Val doing his
What's your favourite oil?
A lovely regional Victorian olive oil. So something here, yeah. So something like Cobram or Mount Zero, or there's a lot of beautiful oils in Victoria, and also in Queensland or the coast. A along the New South Wales. We've got some really beautiful olive oil. Now,
and going back to the pasta, was it fine semolina that you used?
This is the coarse one.
So this is a coarse semolina.
Coarse.
So different types. There's semolina, which has been a fine semolina, which they call rimacinata. There's a semolina which is just a coarse one, which is basically kind of the standard semolina.
Yep. And
Okay.
a question about the cooking time.
Yep.
You mentioned 20 minutes cooking.
Yes.
But is that if it's frozen, or how long if it's cooked fresh?
From fresh, it's about from 18 to 20 minutes. Now we'll cook it. So we're placing that in the water. Now make sure when you place it in your water, you place it in like separate. So it's nice and separate like that. Don't put it in when it's like that.
Yeah.
Because it'll only come out like that. So make sure. And also, to cook any pasta, you need about, let's say, 10 parts water and about 3 parts of pasta. So especially this pasta as well, it has some liberty to kind of swim around. So literally like a fish tank. You know, you don't put 10 fish in a small fish tank because you know what's going to happen. So now, if you can see that, I haven't added any extra oil from the start. And now because the eggplant is being cooked, it's starting to release the oil back out. So next, I'm going to do some cooking and becoming a video producer as well. So we have these beautiful cherry tomatoes. All I'm going to do is, the garlic. With the garlic, where can I do it? Here. All I'm going to do is crush it and basically just take off the peel, the skin of the garlic. Don't put it too early because what happens is that the garlic will burn it. And actually, like that. Don't chop it. Don't do anything, and that'll just flavor the sauce. Once you get to serve it, take the garlic out. So, cherry tomatoes. I'm going to find if there are any off the vine. No. All I'm going to do now is literally, so what's going to happen, I'm going to squash the cherry tomatoes into the sauce. Once it becomes, reduce the heat slightly. Again, just off the vine, and these cherry tomatoes are just really lovely. They're so sweet, you know. You can eat them like apples. They're really good, and also very good for the heart, good for blood. Again, simplicity, and I'll show you what happens to the cherry tomatoes. A lot of this produce has come from our backyard as well. So Fennel is an avid gardener. I'm an avid, well, if I have time, I am avid gardener. I can't lie on them, but Fennel loves gardening. I've got a big backyard. My father-in-law has a big backyard. Things like these onions we grew, we did a little bit of basil from last year, some fennel. We've got an eggplant, we've got plants that are growing, zucchinis that are growing. Now, if you look at that, what happens? Literally what you're doing is once the cherry tomatoes hit the hot pan, because of the heat, they start to explode, or the skin starts to come off. It's literally like putting tomatoes in a hot boiling water. So what we're doing here is doing this exactly the same, but we're making, instead of hot boiling water, we're using the oil we're using the oil to do that. So hopefully everyone can see that. And you watch slowly, slowly, see how they become, it's becoming all broken. Now, from this one, once you see the eggplant cooking, you can add a little bit of the cooking water, just with the glass. So it's a cooking term of the glass, or you're just literally taking the sediment off the bottom of the pan with either some water or wine, or that's why you see some chefs pouring some wine into a sauce. What happens is that all the sediment that is stuck to the bottom of the pan allows it to come off. And one of the tomatoes. Okay. So allow that to cook. And I'll bring it back down to the cooking area. Like so. Then I was going to add some onion to that. This is like a salad onion. It's quite sweet. Obviously has all the properties of onion and so on. But you don't have to add that. You've got all that from the tomato, the bittersweet of the tomato, the garlic, the eggplant. And watch what happens now. It'll slowly, cherry tomatoes will slowly burn. You can add a little bit more of the water so it doesn't burn on the bottom, and try to control the sauce as much as you can. The pasta is cooking just gently. If you can see the rolling boil, it's just slowly moving.
Did you add any oil to the pasta water?
No, never oil. No. Oil should. Yes?
If someone, Emily's wondering if she can't make the pasta, is there a good store-bought pasta that you'd substitute?
Absolutely. Where is Emily from?
Oh, I don't know. Emily, where are you from?
So, not just we're a restaurant or a cooking school, but we also make pasta to grocery shops.
She's in Melbourne, so that's lucky.
We make our own Cavatelli. But we're in Melbourne. If Emily wants, I'm not sure where
she is in Melbourne, so that's fortunate.
Ah, very good.
Come visit.
You can come visit us, or we can deliver to her. We've got a store called Mattarello. Mattarello means rolling pin in Italian. So you can come and buy some Cavatelli from us, or we can deliver. But there are some beautiful Cavatelli that you can buy in any good grocer. Sometimes they're known as gnocchi sardi, like Sardinian gnocchi style, but they're not the real ones. So now what I'm doing is crushing all the tomato. So don't be like me and get it on your top. Just be careful of that. And you want a sauce which is quite thick, but also just add a little bit of water. You can add, if you want, you can add a little bit of white wine. And the water, remember, is being seasoned. So just be careful when you finally season your pasta sauce, which is the eggplant and tomato, that you don't over season it because there might be the salt in the water. Now you're crushing all those tomatoes. Crush, crush, crush. Add some finely chopped basil, maybe 10 seeds, 10 leaves. So going back to the recipe for this, about 150 mils of olive oil, 1 eggplant, about 15 cherry tomatoes. Make sure you season it, and about 12 leaves of basil, finely julienned, if you want to call it in a professional term, or just finely sliced. You can chop it if you like, if you want to chop. Now, just continue cooking it like that, and add a little bit more. Now, again, this is all vegetarian. It's a beautiful sauce. And you want to squash the cherry tomatoes just so the liquid comes out. Now, once you get to this point, just put your sauce on a really low heat, just to keep the heat going, but not to cook anymore. At this point as well, you can remove the garlic because we don't need him anymore. Or if you like eating the garlic like I do, I actually like eating the garlic. I don't throw it away. And there's the other piece. So you've just literally flavored the sauce. Now, I think we're ready with the cavatelli. If you want to try them, and also the timing of the cavatelli is just, you know, it's a time, 20 minutes. But you know, in life, sometimes things are ready on time. Sometimes
when they're actually fresh, it's they cook a bit quicker, so around 10 minutes. But once you dry them, that's where the 20 minutes comes in.
And also how you like your pasta as well. So if you like them to kind of be well cooked, it's a good 20 minutes. If they want to be a little bit, you know, kind of bitey, which is the, you know, the word al dente, yeah, 10 to 15 minutes. Okay, now we're going to strain it. So what you can do, if you like, you can use a colander, and that means having to bring it to the sink, or you can just use one of these and just add it to, just like that. You don't have to use too much, and then you can use this water for something else. You may have a piece, which we do have, got the piece coming up. So stir it through, toss. That's pretty much it right there. However, if you want, you can add a little bit of cheese now, and the cheese is a good opportunity to add just a little bit now. In Italian, what we call is legare. Legare means to bind. So any excess moisture or liquid will bind with the pasta. And then we can plate. We've got our own. Then we can plate. We make our little tablecloth here like this. It's our picnic tablecloth. There you go, table for one, yes, table for one. There you go, plate. And then
I'll do the cheese.
And there you go. So if you look at that, it's well incorporated. There's not a lot of pasta compared to the sauce. Sometimes I see, you know, there's a lot of sauce and not enough pasta, or there's so much pasta, because you want to eat the eggplant, you want to eat that fresh. And then a little filo di olio, just a little bit of oil on top, and the cheese.
Oh, that looks delicious.
And that's and there you have it.
Oh, it does. It looks fantastic.
And there you have it. I'm going to actually take a photo. Take a photo. And there you have it. We're going to take a, one second. Take a photo. Oh, 1 second. Take a photo of us taking a photo. It's always important.
I go like this too. So we look like we take it.
There we are. Take a photo of
Duck face. We'll do
Yeah.
duck face.
And I'll take a photo of you taking a photo of you.
Us taking a photo. So that's the first dish. You have a pasta, which is the cavatelli, handmade in front of you. We didn't use anything, and literally, you know, we started late, and with all the I was going to say bullshit talking I do, I also, with all that extra talk that was probably not required, it's been kind of half an hour. So semolina was 300 grams of flour, 150 grams of water, boiling salted water on the side. Roll the mixture, allow it to rest for a minimum of about half an hour. If you don't want to allow it rest, just go for it. It's okay. Then we've rolled the pasta. We then started our eggplant in the frying in a pan, a little pan like that. Make sure you have all your utensils and cooking spoons and things like that ready to go. Fry off the eggplant. Once the eggplant is nine, you can see the oil. It's kind of releasing the oil back into the pan. That's when you know it's cooked. Add your cherry tomatoes, allow them to blister, squash them. Add a handful of julienne basil or sliced basil. Allow that to cook. Add some pasta water throughout just to deglaze all the sediment on the base of the pan. So the pan is not, if you say, it's not burnt. It's nice and silver. And kitchen hands like that because I don't have to obviously clean for half an hour.
That's me.
Pasta cooked 15-20 minutes. Add the pasta to the pot. Toss. Add some cheese, plates, cheese, a little bit of olive oil, and you have your pasta. There we
Martin's
go.
got a question about the shape of the pasta.
Yes.
Martin's background is Polish, and he's used to a different pasta that has eggs in it, and not normally the fancy shapes. So, what's the purpose to having the fancy shape?
Yes. So there's a couple of answers. Number one answer, which is not so readily known, is that each area of sometimes, well, Italy and different regions. I say sometimes because a lot of these pastas, when they were created, Italy wasn't united. Italy were regions of Italy. So if you, for example, in Sicily, there you could say this region did it like this region did it like this. So that's one of the reasons. Some people put their what's the word, their coat of arms on sometimes. There's a little pasta called corsetti. Rolling the pasta on different shapes. We also have a reason is that the cooking time. So when you roll it, you flatten it out and it rolls around. And then the third one is literally how it takes the sauce. So the sauce, depending on if you're from northern Italy, it has a lot of meat. Southern Italy, it's a lot of vegetables, a lot of olive oils, and also the different little indicators or the little grooves holds the sauce as well. But usually it's because to flatten out the dough. So once you flatten the dough out, it creates a shape. And some areas just use whatever they have. There's some that just use the bench, some use a fork. And really, sometimes we overthink a lot of these things. And it's just think if you're a grandmother or an older lady, because back then it was mainly the women that would cook a lot of these foods. Just think that you're living in a house, you don't have very much money, you tend to the sheep and the farm and so on. So a lot of the food was basically about sustenance. And one of the things was that, whatever they had readily available, it wasn't like, they thought about, this is a scientific method of doing this. It's really what they had readily available. So if they had a small tile or if they had a piece of wood, they would use that. And the wood obviously then would show where they are from that area because those trees would be growing in just that area. Hopefully that answered your question. Well said.
Great, thank you.
Okay. Any other questions?
No, I've been throwing them in as we've gone along.
Okay. The next one we're going to do, very simple. So Andrea, could you announce the next one? It's just a vegetable dish with fennel and peas. But what did I write? So I don't stuff it up again.
You wrote
Grilled fennel,
crushed peas, and pumpkin seeds.
Beautiful. Okay, so we have fennel. Now, some people cut the top off and so on. What I'm going to do is, this is something that, let's say, Mum used to cut these fennels and crumb them. She used to do kind of fennel parmigiana. But what I'm going to show you today is just a very simple dish. I'm just going to use the inners. So if you see that, how I've cut it, and I've cut that off. Now, I'm only doing that because of the recipe for today, but these are actually probably better than that. So what you then do is you take this, because it's all holding together. So that's what you want. You want it to hold together all from the root. Don't cut it too far down, because the roots will hold everything together. But I'll use that for something else. But just to show, obviously, class today, so the root is still on. You can clean that up a little bit, but then cut that in the middle again. So if I were to see how it all holds together, and that's what we want. So from here, very simple. You take the fennel. Oil. Fennel. And start it off just a little bit more heat than that. You just want to hear that gentle fry, gentle fry, gentle fry. You don't want to hear it frying too much. Okay, let's see if I can get a better angle. Oh, exploded. Exploded.
Is this hot?
So, just a gentle fry. All right. Then what we then do is we let that gently fry away. Is we make a little pea puree. So we are using the hot water. There we go. We're using the hot water that we did the pasta from before. So just, as we say, blanch, or just put that in the hot water. And we'll drain that out. And we've got another fry pan over here going. We have plenty of fry pans going everywhere. And we'll fry the peas in here. So we're going to strain off the peas. And then olive oil again. A little bit more olive oil to the pan. Add some beautiful basil. And again, you can just gently slice. Add that to the peas. A little seasoning. And what you want to do is obviously keep the color of the green color, but we don't want it to be hard. The peas need to be kind of, let's say, they're a little overcooked. And then once that's done, we put it into the blender and we give that a blend. Not too pure. Kind of keep it mushy. And a pea came out of the thing. And you know what you call a pea that's run away? Escapee. Okay, so Fennel's done that.
Joseph, do you have a preference for electric or gas? And I think you're using induction today, aren't you?
Yeah, that's right. So at the moment, currently we're using induction, which is electric. But in the kitchen we're using gas and some bits of electric. But yeah, in the cooking school we use electric, mainly because, you know, if you've got to touch the things, it's not hot, you're not using a open flame. And that might be a good thing as well, because you know, sometimes open flame, you've got children and so on, or if oil spills over, you've got an inferno. So on a lot of those things, yes, I would rather electric. But you know, let's say 10 years ago, the electric inductions didn't have the technology, but now you put a pan on, literally just you know, cook pretty much immediately. So the fennel. Now at this stage, you put a little bit of water, a little bit more seasoning, and you can braise them in the oven. And you want them to turn, what's the word, opaque. Opaque and see-through, very, very soft to the tooth. So you have the fennel, like that, and allow that to gently cook in the oven so they're quite opaque. Now this dish, again, is a very simple dish. You know, you can eat as a salad. I've got the onion that I was going to use prior, but the onion in the this beautiful sweet onion, and sometimes you can, and this is just me playing around in the sense of it's just more of a stylistic thing. I cut the raw edible kind of salad onion in rounds. And then when we go to plate the dish, I will show you. Okay, so take one of your lovely plates, like that. Let's say that the fennel's been in the oven for about 20 minutes, about 180 degrees, and it's slow cooking. A little bit of water, salt, pepper, your favorite herb that can go inside there, not a problem. On the other side, Val has done the mushy peas.
I love mushy peas. Do you like mushy peas?
Yeah, I do actually.
My favorite.
And just in the middle of the plate, and again, you don't have to do one piece. I'm only doing this as like in the sense of having to cook a big steak. What I'm trying to do is showing you, you know, sometimes vegetables can be used as an alternative.
Can be the superstar.
Mm-hmm. Your fennel, and also remember once this cooks down, the actual fennel becomes thinner. And just as a garnish, just the fennel as a little garnish, you can add the onion, some baby herbs that you can your favorite little baby herbs, if you like. I like the purple ones. To be honest with you.
Called the bull's fly.
And each herb has a and a little bit of olive oil. And the pumpkin seeds that we've roasted in the oven, just gentle, just until they're light brown with some salt and some olive oil. And that goes on the top. So what this dish is all about is simplicity. So you've got peas which are in season at the moment, obviously spring pea. You have fennel, which is a real goer at the moment, very, very good for digestion and nutritional values as well, really good for circulation, and cooked in an oven at about 150 degrees for about 20 minutes, slow braised. So sometimes fennel, you know, is not crazy tasty. So again, with a little bit of stock or vegetable stock or water, a little bit of lemon juice, a bit of salt, pepper, olive oil in the oven, and then you have something which you may or may not want to use as an alternative to say meat. So,
and you mentioned putting some herbs on it when you put it in the oven. What herbs would you suggest putting on it in the oven?
absolutely. So the best herb to put on a fennel is its own herb, the fennel tops. That's one. Or, again, being summer, basilico.
Yep.
Some nice luscious olive oil, and then you have your, obviously, your salad.
Is that my lunch?
That's your lunch. Yes, that's lunch.
It's lunchtime.
Take a photo of you again.
And then high five.
High five.
Oh, leave me hanging. High five. High five. High five.
So, any questions from that, or did I talk too quick and no one understood?
No, I asked them along the way. But another
Okay.
question has come in. Have you got amazing coffee at your restaurant?
Absolutely.
Yes,
have
we
amazing
do.
coffee. We have one of the best roasters in the country, by the name of Sanali. Sanali or Salvatore, I've known for a very, very long time. He's grown his business exponentially in the sense in the last 15 to 20 years. I think he's, Sanali Coffee Roasters. So they're located in South Melbourne, but we do have very good coffee.
And can you buy that on your online shop as well?
You can, well, you can probably buy the coffee if you give us a call. We can, but he has a site, Sanali Coffee Beans. I think his website, you can buy all the coffee and all different roasters and machines and you name it. You can buy all that. But
Fantastic.
if you like, we can sell you some. There's no problem.
Bridie will be pleased to
Okay.
know. Thank you. Yep.
Brian, yes.
Yeah. Check out our online store, Mozzarella. It's on
We've
Mr.
found
Bianco.
it, and I'm sharing that link to people as we go.
Oh, beautiful.
So again, just very simple. Peas cooked in some olive oil, pureed, again, a little bit of basil inside just to enrich that flavor, salt and pepper, fennel braised in the oven, some onion rings. You can even make like the Olympic ring. There you go. I actually did that for you. Is the Olympic ring or is that the Audi ring?
I think that's the Audi. It's missing one ring.
The herbs that we use today is bull's blood. Just as a color, but you don't have to use them. And then the little pumpkin seeds on the top that we take and roast in the oven. Just it's a very simple browning, just to accentuate the color a little. So,
Joe, Emily's wondering if you've got the recipes that we could receive today.
the recipes, absolutely.
Yeah.
So a lot of this stuff, I don't really have recipes. That all I've done is kind of like, especially this fennel dish, I just kind of put together because it's just seasonal, and I saw some beautiful fennel that was in the cool room and some of these things and going to the market. But yes, answering your question again, I can put something together. It's not a problem.
Thank you. Emily would be pleased. And they liked
But
your
all
dad
this stuff-
joke as well.
The pea.
That
They liked your
joke.
dad joke about the pea.
I don't know whether that was a dad joke. It's like quite intelligent. Like SKP. All right.
And Bridie wants to know if you like seafood.
I do. Yes. I like seafood which hasn't been too manufactured, in the sense of it's a simply grilled piece of fish, like a piece of snapper or blue eye, kind of a white fish, even tuna, just simply grilled. And this time of the year, seafood is at its most best because we've just come through winter. As it rains, a lot of the sediment and all the nutrients run off the earth, go into the streams and estuaries and so on. So now the fish are kind of eating. They're all kind of so much mating and stuff. And especially oysters right now, the best time.
Fabulous. Is the roastery for the coffees right in your restaurant, or is that somewhere different? Sylvia's wondering if there's a strong sense of smell of coffee.
Oh no, we have a grinder, but we can put you right next to the grinder if you like. You can actually we can grind some coffee and put it on the table.
Oh, that's a service and a half. I like that.
Yeah, me too.
Can you do that next time for me? Yeah.
Oh, and Sue was actually at Mr. Bianco on Saturday, and she fully recommends the $68 Chef's Choice menu.
Oh yes,
Yes.
really good. Yeah, because it comes blind. So the thing that I worry about is that someone that loves something, and so we, any recommendations or requests and things like that, would you like to see? But literally, a lot of the specials that we have, and we have a lot of specials every night. And sometimes our regular guests, they come in maybe 5 or 6 times a month, and the menu, they've seen it a lot of times, and we just go, listen, we'll just leave it to you, whatever comes out, and we just ask if you have any any allergies or so on, and we have fun. It's really good.
Fantastic.
Now for dessert.
Strawberry granita.
Yeah, strawberry granita. All right. Strawberry granita. So, find your favorite. This is the most important part, is finding your favorite little cup where you want to put it. I actually went across the road. We've got an MS store across the road, which is strangely or ironic that it actually was set up. It was actually set up at the same time that Mr. Bianco was born, about 11 years ago. And every month or so, I go across the road and buy some things that just to help out, because the guys in there work really hard and so on. So, but often the case, I have some really beautiful kind of classic little pieces, and there were these or little cups and so on. So this is more of a light, digestive type of dessert. So all it is strawberries with a strawberry granita, and I'll show you how to make the granita very, very quickly. So,
Joseph, we can't hear you. Something's happened.
cut the ends off.
Oh.
Okay. I'm using this large knife because there's no other one around, so.
Sorry. My fault.
No. So I just cut the ends off the strawberry. Ripe strawberries. At the moment, some of the strawberries, and you can also get some white strawberries as well.
Oh, they're so good at the moment, aren't they?
And the white strawberries actually take me back to kind of being a kid, like how strawberries used to taste. And I think we're slowly getting there. But again, so there you go. Strawberries in a cup, up to about just past the rim. Okay. The next one is we take some strawberries and we put them in the Thermomix or in a blender. Okay. Inside, we take some sugar, and that's why you've asked me for the recipe. So about a third is sugar. So in there I've got 8 strawberries, and I've got probably about 50 grams of sugar.
You can always use honey, can't you?
Absolutely. Honey. Then is we put the blender.
I'm gonna go in the basement.
Okay. On the basement. All right.
Oh, there you go, the ice.
Ice. The same amount, we say 8 strawberries. 8 strawberries. Just so it can work. 6 ice cubes. Maybe 7.
One for good luck.
And blend. More ice. That's the start. I put in probably another 12 pieces of ice. Also with that, you can also put the more ice. So if you see this as you can also put the what's the word? You can put the bowl in the freezer or somewhere cold, so everything becomes cold. You know, cold strawberries. Cold strawberries. Cold bowl.
And Joseph,
You can add also what? You can also add things like Moscato, Prosecco, and alcohol to the. So basically, what you're making is a slushy.
and Emily wondered if she could use frozen strawberries.
Even better.
So
Even better.
frozen strawberries and sugar?
Yes. But then you put less ice. The ice is really just trying to get it to the point where it's and there you go. So all you then do is place that on the top. You have to work quick. So if you're doing this at home, you have to literally do it and serve it. And you can add things like Prosecco or Moscato or something like that inside the mixture, just to give it that alcohol base. But obviously this is just a plain one. But it's something that you can kind of fumble around and just have a bit of fun with and see, you know, where it kind of goes. More ice, less ice, Prosecco, I don't know, put some bucca or something like that that you really like. And then
Cointreau would be quite nice.
Cointreau, yeah, orange juice. Now, if you have any of this left over,
Sorry.
if you have any left over, if you put it in the freezer like that, that's how it'll become. So what you do is you put it onto a tray, really flat, into the freezer, and after a while just smash it and mix it together. And that's how you have a Granita without like a Granita machine. But if you put like that big thing in a container and you put it in the freezer, you'll get a big block of strawberry ice. But that's it.
You can use
Beautiful.
different fruit, chef. You can use different fruit for it.
Absolutely. So things like now mangoes, pineapples. So what you use on the bottom, just Granita it. Like if you're going to use fresh mango, mango. mango granita. Or you can mix it up, strawberries, mango, pineapple, mango, granita. Or you can do like a fruit salad and make maybe like a fruit granita or something like that. Strawberries, blueberries, and so
Watermelon.
on. Watermelon. But remember, if you're going to put that in the freezer like that, that's what you get out. It'll freeze one block. So just put it onto a tray flat and then break it up as you go.
Martin's just been having a look at your website and he's found Sugo a la Norma.
That's the one.
But he can't find the volume of it. There's no size of the items. So
500
not-
mils. 500 mils.
500 mils?
Yeah. Yeah, that's on the online shop. Trying to get out of the sun.
Gonna escape.
There you go. Okay. Maybe it's that on this side. You stand here. No, that's
This way?
That's it. Okay.
Thank you both so much. It's been fantastic.
No, thank
Any
you.
questions on the strawberries and granita? It's just very, very simple, but you know, literally there's 5 movements, if that.
It's like a dessert that you can do a la minute.
There's no questions, but lots of thank yous are coming in and comments that it looks delicious and that you guys are really fun.
And apologies about the technology.
No, that's fine. We sorted it out. You were good at problem solving, so thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much. We'll look forward to, I'll make sure I send some details around to everyone. And there's lots of thank yous coming in. You've made people hungry, says Karen.
And if you can see the book, that was launched a few days ago. It's called Sicilian. And in there is there's a, you know, it's a beautiful way of you know, of cooking. There's also how to make some preserves. The first chapter is like me growing up at home, and then it gets into some really interesting restaurant food. And it just shows a lot of you know, a lot of meat. How to make chocolate ravioli.
That's great, Joseph. Thank you so much. I'm looking forward myself to having a go at the Cavatelli. And lots of thank yous. Grazie, well done. Lovely, simple recipes, and thank you both for your time. So thanks, guys.
Our pleasure. And also, if anyone has something to talk about, whether it be living with MS, I live with MS. And one thing that I would love to put out there, and if hopefully we can get some sort of government incentive or push, is we need to get tested early. Because the earlier you get tested and you know about it, there's ways that you can kind of treat it and, you know, push it down, really push it down to a point where you can live with it. And I always say, I was lucky that I was hit by a car, if that makes any sense. I was lucky that I was hit by a car because I was taken to hospital and they saw some strange things happening. But if not, I would have just thought it was just, you know, working in the kitchen for 25 years, or, you know, the bike setup on my bike wasn't right. So I thought, you know, the hand and the leg and so on, losing balance, so I was just part of old age. I would never have thought it was part of multiple sclerosis. Never in my right mind. You know, my doctor, every time I have tests, and he goes, Joe, you know, you're really athletic. You've got you know, the health of an Olympic swimmer. And we wouldn't have never found, you know, something like multiple sclerosis that you would have got. So that's what I say. If there's anyone that wants to talk about things or how to manage it, also do some of your own research about the treatments. I know that there's a new drug on the market at the moment that the government has put on. There's called Mazan that could help. It's now part of the the list, so it's not expensive. But I go again, is that food is one of the only things that you can control. Eating correctly, eating at the right times, and eating the correct foods. And foods, it doesn't mean if it's expensive, it's good for you. It doesn't mean if someone's told you, but you just need to make sure that you are living well and get away from stressful situations. I've just gone through an 8-month of horrendous stress in the sense of lockdowns and so on. But now what I'm saying to myself, you can see that, you know, the hard work, not so much as paying off, but I've got a good team around me, and we need to kind of move that way. Stress, heat, and living with kind of toxic people. If anyone gives you the shits, just tell them to piss off. I think that's the best way. Don't hang around toxic people. Don't hang around people that don't care. You've got an illness that you need to look after yourself. So if the glass is half empty, you can't help anyone else. So you've got to make sure that your glass is full, and that's the only way that you can help others. Okay.
Thank you so much, Joseph. And I will add to that, because I totally agree. And for everyone that's listening, just also remember that MS Connect is here to help. So if you need to talk to someone, 1-800-042 138. Thank you so much. Again, lots of thank yous coming through from everyone.
Thank you.
And we're really pleased that you've spent the time with us. We'll see you again. Thank you. Bye-bye for now.
Ciao.